Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Dermot and Phillip's political podcast, or podcast as we call it. Dermot's taking a night off tonight, so I'll be handling this solo, and we'll be joined at some stage during the proceedings by Irish Times journalist Ronan McGreevy, who will be giving us his unique insight into what's been going on in the world over the last couple of weeks. There's a lot of things going on in the world over the last couple of weeks. I think the one that's probably going to worry most of us at the moment is what's happening in Iran. It seems to be there's significant unrest, and while unrest and protest is legitimate in most countries and is accepted in most countries, it seems the Iranian regime is not of a similar mind, and there's been over 500 people killed. As a human rights group has said, the last figure I saw, I think, was 544. They've been killed, and the body bags are stacking up in a gymnasium somewhere, with people going through the gruesome task of trying to identify their loved ones and relations and friends, which is absolutely horrendous, really. That message there comes from CNN. And of course, as you probably heard, the American are talking about, but Donald Trump is talking about airstrikes. Now, unless they've got specific targets identified, I really don't know what good that's going to do. It might only exacerbate the whole problem and also make America open to retaliation by Iran and their supporters, which include China and Russia. So it could be just one more step near World War III, unfortunately. But it's a horrendous situation to be in. And normally, what's happening in Iran, you'll normally get loads and loads of videos and people ringing in to see what's happening. But because they put a stop to most internet availability, in fact, we understand that the only internet that's available in Iran at the moment is Starlink kits that were smuggled in illegally and have been set up. And that's Elon Musk is doing his thing to keep the outside world somewhat advised of what's going on in Iran. Other than that, we wouldn't be seeing anything, and which is pretty horrendous. Now they've also said that Iran want to talk to America, but I don't know where that's going to end up, because as we know, you can talk to Donald Trump and he'll agree to something tonight, and by tomorrow morning he'll have changed his mind. So I really think that this Iranian thing needs to calm down. Now, the Iranian authorities have said that the protests have been stopped. Now, that's easy to say that when we don't have any proof of that. I doubt that somehow. I don't think everything's going to go back home quietly. I think those protests will carry on for a while. And we just have to hope that there's no more people killed, because it's horrendous to think that since 1978, I think it was, where the Islamic Revolution under Ayatollah Khomeini exiled the Shah, and now the Shah's son is living in America, and he seems to be stirring the pot. Now, whether he wants to come back under a more democratic regime or what, I don't know. But what is the option for the Iranian people? Do you go back to the? Oh, here he is.
Hi guys, sorry.
It's okay. Can I just introduce Ronan McGreevy here from the Irish Times? Ronan is a noted historian and a real expert on current affairs, and we just love having his input into this. So good night. Thanks for coming in.
No pressure there, Philip. Hi guys, how you doing?
We're just talking about Iran here.
Yeah,
the situation that's arisen out there with the bodies been piling up in the morgues.
Yeah, that's right.
What do you say? What do you see as a solution to this? Is bombing the place going to help, or is that going to make a hindrance?
You know, it's kind of it's a bit like Venezuela. I mean, like this is such a moving story, but you have it down there. U.S. strikes on the table, but talks with Iran preferred. I think all of us would like to see an end to the Islamic regime, not least of which is the people of Iran, who are sick, sore and sorry of 50 years of repression, economic sanctions, and it is, of course, the world's greatest exporter of terror in the Middle East as well. And, but then you're saying to yourself, like, it seems to me now, we're talking here live, obviously, that the Islamic regime have got a handle on the on the riots. They put them down with pure brutality, and it seems to be a quieter night from what I see. But it's a pity. Like, I mean, I would love to see, for the sake of the people of Iran, that this ghastly regime is removed from power. And then, of course, the only people who can really do that are the Americans. And I mean, should we support regime change in Iran if it comes from the Trump regime? That's a terrible dilemma we're in at the moment. I mean, if it led to the overthrow of the Islamic regime, would we support it even if it came from Trump's America? I don't know the answer to that question. I'd
Mhm.
love to. I'd love to say to you, and it's the same with Venezuela. I mean, you've got a situation whereby with Venezuela, they've removed from power somebody who has impoverished their own country, who is a brute and a bully, who falsified two elections in 2019 and 2024. And yet, you're at the stage where you're saying, well, is this the way to be getting rid of dictators? Um, and the
Mm.
reality is this. I mean, let's deal in the real world here. That Trump has done more to um, improve the situation of Venezuelans and all the human rights organizations in the world by getting rid of Maduro. Now, what comes next, we don't know at the moment. He seems to be keeping the present regime in place. Um, and what he does after that, I don't know. But I'm frankly glad that Maduro is gone. I actually, for the Irish Times, and some of you want to check it out in the Irish Times. I was at a rally, Venezuelans in Ireland on Saturday, and they all hate Maduro's guts. I mean, obviously they would. They're living here. They're one of the 8 million exiles that live in Iran. But then you had this uh, demonstration outside the U.S. embassy by the sort of usual suspects, hard left suspects, and there wasn't a single Venezuelan there. I mean, like, if the Venezuelan people are happy that Maduro's gone, who am I or you or anybody else to say, well, yeah, but it was Trump? I mean, we should check our privilege on this one, Philip.
Surely, I can understand it. Getting rid of Maduro is fine, good. He's a thug. He's a criminal. He deserves to
Yeah,
go. But you've
yeah,
left people of his similar
yeah, yeah,
thinking behind, still running the
yeah.
country. Although Trump has now appointed himself acting president of Venezuela.
No, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
but like,
Well,
surely he
maybe,
would.
maybe he's being, by getting rid of, decapitation is an interesting strategy. You leave the same regime in place, but they're on notice now, and like, the bottom line for this for me is, if this improves the lives of Venezuelans, if they can go back and be the prosperous country that they always could have been, like, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. But obviously, it has set a really dangerous precedent in the world.
It seems to this purported oil deal that he's supposed to be doing with all the oil
Yeah,
companies
yeah,
isn't quite as straightforward as it
no,
looks like. Apparently, Venezuelan crude is very thick and very hard to
yeah,
process, and the
yeah,
American refineries are not up to the job, and it would cost them hundreds of millions to convert. And I think most of the companies are more like, thanks, Mr. President, but no thanks.
yeah,
And he says, yeah, I had to laugh when he said about Exxon. He says, I didn't like Exxon's response, so I don't think we were bringing them in anyway. But it
yeah,
looks to
yeah.
me as if that is dead in the water. So what happens to Venezuelan oil? If they can't sell it to anywhere because of the embargo, surely that's going to ruin their economy in quick time.
Well, they can sell it. They just can't sell it to the United States. But he has a blockade at the moment of all Venezuelan oil. I suppose he's trying to put economic pressure on them to conform to what he wants. I mean, he wants his contention is that the nationalization of the oil industry basically stole billions worth of infrastructure from American companies, and you can't believe a word he says, But I don't know where it's all going to end, Philip. None of us do.
I see the
Um,
lady, the lady, the opposition
uh,
lady, whose name just escapes me for the moment, is in the White House on Wednesday. And I'm just saying, I've been
yes,
flippant here now. If she hands over her Nobel Peace Prize medal to Trump, the whole thing could change again. He
Yeah.
might
Well, I mean,
he might install her as the new government.
she is the like Gonzalez is the democratically elected president of Venezuela because obviously she had to flee the country, right?
Yeah.
Most observers believe that he is properly the elected president of Venezuela. Nobody took the 2024 election results seriously outside Venezuela, except in a few of the usual suspect places like Russia and Iran
Mm.
and so on. And um, again, if this leads to regime change, if it leads to a proper transition to a properly elected democratic state in Venezuela, then maybe we should give Trump the Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, he's doing the right thing for the wrong reasons. That seems to me to
Yeah.
be, and it's the same with Iran. He's doing the right thing for the wrong reasons. He's using American military power to bring about change, which wouldn't happen otherwise. And again, some of us with long enough memories remember as well, back in 2003, when he got rid of when the Americans got rid of Saddam Hussein,
Yeah.
and I actually thought at the time, and I'm ashamed to say it now, but I was actually, I felt that that the Iraq War was justified on that basis of getting rid of a dictator who was ruling the country into perpetuity, who had two sons on ready to take over from him. What we didn't realize was the scale of the chaos that occurred after that. So maybe there's method in Trump's madness in leaving the same people in place. Because I mean, if you move too quickly to a transition, if you get rid of the army and you're left with if you're left with a power vacuum, you're going to create even more chaos.
Mm.
So we'll have to see how this pans out, Philip. I mean, that's where we're at the moment,
I think it's worrying, though, if you can believe the reports that the Venezuelan sort of, I don't know what you call them, militia, are setting up roadblocks trying to identify
Yeah,
American citizens and detaining them. And in fact,
yeah.
Americans have been advised to get out of Venezuela, but that doesn't look good. That doesn't look like anything's going in the right direction.
No, it's not. But I mean, you're talking about a country that hasn't had a stable government for 20 years, that doesn't have like the institutions of government that we have. They don't have a functioning media. They don't have a functioning judicial system or whatever. I mean, this is going to take a long, long time.
Yeah.
But all I can say is good luck to the people of
Look,
Venezuela. They've
and
suffered enough over the
I see
last.
that their near neighbors, Cuba, are also voicing off about no one dictates what we do, as Trump tells regime to make a deal.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is with America and Cuba, but even going back to since Castro took power in the late 50s, it seems to have
yeah,
been the sort of a thorn in America's side. Uh,
yeah.
is it because of all the immigrants that come from Cuba to America? Is it the influence that Cuba now has in America? But look, he's now talking about as his Secretary of State becoming president of Cuba at some stage.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Cuba's another situation whereby you've had the basically the same regime in power since 1959.
Yeah.
The Americans obviously tried to get rid of Castro in 1961 with the Bay of Pigs fiasco, and basically, America has acted like a sullen, resentful child towards Cuba for the last 60 years, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. But I suppose, again, he's probably saying like, well, maybe this is the time to get rid of this regime in Cuba. I mean, they don't have they're not a democratic state either. So um, I'm just so conflicted. I think anybody who prizes freedom and democracy and the rule of law and free speech and all the rest of these things, if they're not feeling conflicted about all of this, there's something wrong with them. I
Yeah.
mean, these are countries, Venezuela, Cuba, Iran, which have a terrible human rights records. They're not democracies in any meaningful sense of the word. They oppress their own people. But
Mm.
then you have to ask, how do you change all of that? And I mean, Trump has been emboldened by the decapitation of Maduro. So
Mm.
God knows what's going to happen next.
But I have to speak on a personal level. I've been in Cuba a couple of times,
Hmm.
and you would not meet the people there are so friendly. It is
Yeah,
unbelievable. They're like the Irish. They're the Irish of the Caribbean. That's the way I could
yeah, yeah,
describe it. But things are the shops. You walk into a shop, there might be something on the shelf. They're more than likely is empty shelves. They really don't
yeah.
have a pot to piss in, as they say. But the one thing I always remember being told in Cuba: if you ever stop to talk to somebody in the street in Cuba, they'll form a queue behind you because they think it's for a handout or it's for some form of relief that you're giving. The people are they exist on fresh air basically,
Oh
and
yeah, it's so sad. It really is so sad. And I mean, I haven't been there, but everybody who's ever been there says, that it's one of the most beautiful countries and all the rest. And it's a shame too. I mean, it could be an incredibly wealthy country, prosperous, and a place where immigrants, people would come and live there rather than the other way around. I mean, it could be
well,
the Ireland of the Caribbean,
well, I know one thing,
so
and this bit always saddens me. Up the top of the island, the Varadero direction, there's 5 and 6 star hotels that all the
yeah, yeah,
non-American, the Europeans, and that go to. But the sad
yeah,
thing about that is every night when the workers leave work, they're searched to make
yeah, yeah,
sure they're not bringing back bars of soap or towels or anything out of the rooms, which I find incredibly sad. That
yeah. It is, yeah,
they're working with people who probably earn more in a week than they'd earn in a
yeah.
lifetime, and then they've been searched on the way home. So it's a very very sad situation, and one I don't see getting any better, yeah, in the future. But
Well, unless of course there's unless of course the regime there is deposed, which is not going to happen
not
anytime
likely.
soon.
Like,
I mean, Diaz Canal, the president of Cuba, is a chip off the old block, and look, I can understand from the Cuban point of view that they don't want American interference. They've survived 60 years without it,
mm,
but it's very worrying. And then also Cuba is not will be no pushover if God forbid Trump was ever decided to invade the island, and of course they would have the support of the Russians and
Russia,
probably
yeah.
the Chinese as well.
Well,
So I don't know. I mean, I
well,
just don't know what's going to happen. And
it's moving on to the the other problem in Minnesota.
yeah.
What you make of the? I mean, are we all watching something on TV and we're not seeing what's actually happened? To listen to Kirsty Noem, you think that the complete opposite happened of what we've actually seen on our screens for the last week.
Well, look, I mean, you just have to see the video footage, and it doesn't matter what angle you do it, you see it at, right? This guy, I think his name is
Jonathan
Jonathan
Ross.
Ross. Yeah,
Jonathan Ross. No relation.
yeah.
No relation.
No, 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 nothing to the presenter. I mean, he stands in front of that car, right? And he
Yeah.
shoots through the window. All he had to do was take a step to the side. And then, of course, he does take a step to the side, and she is pulling away, and he shoots twice through the window and kills her, right? I mean, look, you don't have to be an expert in firearms to see that this is just pure cold-blooded murder. That's
And he
all it
walked.
is.
And he walked away from the situation. He just put his gun back in his thing and walked away,
Yeah,
and left the scene of the crime without any
yeah.
thing being preserved or anything like that. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
and also, I mean, people can see with their own two eyes what happened. And I mean, the worst aspect of it is, I mean, is the fact that instead of trying to calm the situation and try and say, listen, we will look at all of this. We'll see what we'll see what the investigation brings out. I mean, you've got this complete rush to judgment on the part of obviously Trump. You wouldn't expect any better from him, but also from JD Vance, who has shown himself to be a despicable individual on so many different occasions. And then the third thing is obviously Christy Nome lying through her teeth. I mean, it's just. But the worst aspect, the thing that really bugs me about it is that this guy hasn't been charged with anything because it's going to be an FBI investigation and they're not going to investigate him.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, if nothing else, he should have been brought in for questioning. But Is this where America's going now? Where basically you have like the stormtroopers, the SA going out on the streets like they did in Nazi Germany,
Mm.
shooting people, terrorizing neighborhoods, and then there's absolutely no guardrails, there's no compunction on what they do. I mean, and Trump seems to be really happy that he's creating this level of chaos.
It's the Hitler playbook. It's the Hitler playbook from
Yeah.
1933 reenacted. If anybody was alive in 1933, lived through that, and came back today, they would be horrified at the similarities that there are out there. And
Yeah.
it just seems to be that you mentioned that the FBI have taken over the Jonathan Ross investigation, although the Minnesotans have come out and said that there's no statute of limitations on this. So that when and if and when Trump is out of office, they can revisit this case and charge a man. So he might get away with it for a year or two, but he's not going to get away with it if they have their way. So we'll have to
A
wait and see
hundred
how that
percent,
pans
yeah.
out.
No, absolutely. And this is the thing that I think y this guy is never going to get away with this, right? Even if for argument's sake he never gets jailed for it. This is the defining episode in his life. His life is never going to be the same again, and neither should it be.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to see where he goes now. Are they still going to? Is he still going to work for the FBI? But I mean, the level of hatred that has been directed at these ICE agents in the United States is quite extraordinary. I mean, they're being followed around in cities and towns, in sanctuary cities and towns, by people who are filming them, exercising their democratic right to free expression. And you would think that any agency would try and dial down the rhetoric a bit and say, look, these guys are doing their job and all the rest, that sort of thing. But actually, they're not really doing their job. All they're doing is is sowing chaos, and it's us against them. The problem is, right? Obviously, there'll be a substantial amount of people in the United States who will say, well, A, that these guys are doing a good job, and B, this is what Trump got elected for, is to rid the country of illegal immigrants and all the rest. But it seems to me, just even from the polls and even from a lot of Republican senators and Congress people and all the rest, that this is a step too far. And, people could see with their own two eyes what happened.
Mhm.
And, you know, the worst part about this, Philip, is we have 3 more years of this.
Well,
We have
we
three
hopefully
more
we
years.
only have 12 months of it if they can become a lame duck president once the midterms are over. If the polls are right and stay they are, but who's to say things won't change in the next few months? But if the Dems can take control of the House and even get close to the Senate, Trump will not be able to get any of his policies through. Not that he's bothering with Congress at the moment anyway. He just seems to be going ahead and doing it. But I think that might change if there's a change of leadership in the House because he's got a lapdog there in Michael. What do you call him? What do you call the leader, the Speaker of the House? Mike
Yeah, Mike Johnson.
he
Yeah,
has a lapdog there who do whatever he's told. And
but you see, the thing is you're right, Philip. But the thing about it is that the president has a lot of executive power that he can use without congressional approval. I mean, he doesn't have congressional approval for any of this stuff,
no,
And I mean, the only thing I suppose is that the House can and the Senate can vote for the impeachment of the likes of Kristi Noem and Kash Patel and all of these lackeys of the Trump regime. But again, you know, like, um, will it happen?
well,
I don't know.
will impeachment become a feature again? Like if they get enough numbers in the House, are they going to go to impeach him straight away?
Yeah,
Because let's face it, there's plenty of choice of things they can impeach him for.
there
There's
is. Yeah,
no
yeah,
shortage
yeah.
of subjects they can go on. But I suppose that we'll have to wait and see what's what. Um, but I suppose that the most worrying thing for a lot of Europeans at the moment with the way Trump is acting is the situation in Greenland.
Yeah.
Well, is it will he? Won't he? Is he going to invade Greenland and effectively end NATO? Because
Um, all I can say to you is in relation to that I would imagine that would need a congressional approval for a declaration of war if that's what happens. And I cannot see that happening. I just can't see it happening. And I just don't think that I can't see him invading. I can't see him invading Greenland. But then you just don't know. And also, I mean, the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Apparently, this is what I'm reading in the New York Times and the Washington Post. Have told him that he can't do this, right? But if he does it, he does it. He will need congressional approval, as it would be effectively an act of war. It'd be a declaration of war against a friendly country, and I just don't see. I mean, if you look at the number of senators, Republican senators and Congress people who have said no, we're not going to do this. There's hope, you know. That's all I'll
Well,
say.
Article 5 of the NATO agreement states if a member country is attacked, then it's all hands to the pump to help out. But I don't think that agreement took into consideration being attacked by a member
Well,
country as well.
this is the thing. I mean, we're at the stage now where, you know, whatever you think about successive American administrations and whether you think they acted rightly in places like Vietnam and, you know, and Iraq and so on. I mean, they've done a lot of very questionable things over the years. Um, but you know, you always felt they were on the same. We were all on the same side, basically, in defense of democracy and freedom and all the rest. And I mean, it's 85. It's 80 years this year since President Roosevelt gave his famous speech about the United States being the arsenal of democracy. And you know, are we looking at it becoming an arsenal of tyranny? I hope not. But
That's
I
very
just
true.
I don't see. I could be wrong about this. I just do not see. I think there will then be an agreement in relation to Greenland. I just think that there may be an adult or two left in the White House
Yeah.
who thinks that an invasion would be an unconscionable thing to do. I mean, there's nothing to stop. There's nothing to stop Trump putting all the bases he wants, putting all the
Oh yeah.
security he wants in Greenland.
Okay.
There's nothing to stop American companies, if that's what they want to do, going there and drilling and looking for all these rare earth minerals and etc. There's nothing to stop them doing that already. I think this is just basically a sort of megalomaniac thing where essentially he's looking at this huge island on the map and he's thinking, Jesus, wouldn't our country be so much bigger if we had Greenland? I honestly think it's down to that level of absolute complete self-delusion, you know.
But do you not
So
think too that there's an element of Putin in the background here? Putin's ideal is to get rid of NATO, and if
oh,
Trump did what he shouldn't do in Greenland, that's effectively the end of NATO. So you
yeah,
know, and then this thing about Trump being a Russian stooge and all that will come to the fore if that particular thing happens. Which again, I don't think it will. I don't think even he's stupid enough to do that. But you know, you never know. But
this is the problem. You just do not know what's going to happen. I mean, as I said, it kind of reminds me a lot of, and I don't want to compare. I know Trump is bad, but I'm only using this as an analogy, so I am not comparing him to Hitler, right? But what I am saying is this. With Hitler, right, it got to the stage, say in 41 or 42, where he just basically, because he had quite a few triumphs and stuff like that, he just went and did crazy things. And like, for instance, declaring war on America, like, for instance, invading the Soviet Union in June 1941, not allowing, you know, when it was obvious that they were. The Sixth Army was beaten in Stalingrad. He forced them to continue, and the problem is that nobody shouts stop, and this is the problem. Is there anybody? Is there sufficient? Is there sufficient checks and balances left in the United States that somebody said, no, you can't invade the territory of a sovereign country that has been our ally?
yeah,
And I hope for the sake of the world that there is, you know.
well,
So
Stephen Miller certainly won't hold him back. That's for sure.
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. You know, I
We're
agree.
just going to finish off on a couple of things here. First of all, I
Hmm.
think we couldn't let the evening pass without congratulating Jessie Buckley on her Golden Globe last night.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if
yeah.
you've seen that film yet. I haven't seen it
Not
yet.
yet, but I will go. I'm just
Yeah.
finishing the book. I read it before and I'm reading it again. It's just a beautifully written book.
Ah, right,
And
right. But I mean, it's a
Yeah.
case of Kerry domination for this weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah,
From
yeah,
the young
yeah. The
scientists
ball,
on
the
Friday
All-Irelands
night
as well,
to
yeah.
the football at Croke Park at the weekend, and
Yeah.
now this. So,
Yeah. Isn't it amazing how the most quintessential of English writers that it's a book written by an Irish woman and the two main actors in the drama are Irish, Paul Mescal and Jessie Buckley, and the director's Chinese. So yeah. Yeah.
Dermot saying Mayo will be back. Dermot, come on. Mayo haven't won anything in the
Back
last
where? Back to
235
where?
years.
Back to being
But
beaten in the championship, yeah.
we're just going to finish off on the space race. But before we do, I
Yeah.
should mention that this channel is sponsored by O'Connor Designs in Manchester. They are a new company that do creators. They do videos and thumbnails for startup companies and whatever. Dermot has more details to give in his other programs, but it's some fantastic designs. I've seen some of them, and it's Colin O'Connor. He's a Manchester United fan, but we're not holding that against him.
No,
We're
no,
not going to
no.
mention
Well,
football tonight. We're not going to.
he has some idea what it's like to be a Spurs fan over the last couple of weeks. That's for
Well, that's
sure.
true. We're very similar, but we're not go there because we don't want to get too
No.
depressed. But we're going to finish off on the space race. Apparently,
Yes.
they're back to the moon in February. Now,
I think this. Yes, yes, I think
this
this is great news. I've always been absolutely fascinated by the moon landings, which I think somebody described them as an event in the 20th century. It was an event from the 21st century in the 20th century, and I'm thinking that it's just incredible to think that we're 54 years on from the last of the moon landings, and we've never gone back there. And I know that NATO has been looking at this for the last 10 years. And you know what the problem is nowadays? It's our old friend health and safety. I mean, the guys who went to the moon in the 60s they took huge risks with their lives. I mean, there was some thought that it was a 50-50 chance as to whether any of them would make it back. Nowadays, you have to legislate for all this health and safety stuff. But I think it's great if we're going back to the moon. I miss the moon landings. I'd love to see them again. And I hope this time that there's a woman who goes to the moon. I think that's one of the plans. And although I'm sure... Huh?
Kirsty,
Oh, yeah, just leave her there. Yeah,
I remember.
Bring Trump with her.
School. I was a kid at school when the '69 one went up. I mean, it was just sitting. You're watching this grainy black and white image coming on the screen, and it was just jaw-dropping stuff. It really was. It was amazing. It was amazing. So
from a studio to think Hollywood. That's where it was filmed.
Here we go. Here's Mr. Conspiracy Theory coming in there. Will you hear this?
And here's another thing as well. You can tell me Apollo 11 taught you two things. You can put a square hole in a round peg or a square peg into a round hole, right? And you can make something out of nothing while you're in the middle of the space, speeding out control. Look, I think they happened. I'm with you. I can't wait for them to happen. We're going to get our Apollo moment, which
I think it's going to be. You know what? I said always two things, and I said. In my lifetime, I'd like to see a man on Mars, and I'd like to see Leitrim win the All Ireland. And whatever about the latter one,
there's more chance of the man on Mars.
Yeah, there's more chance of us going to Jupiter than there is a Leitrim winning the
Well, there's more chance of going to Mars than Mayo winning anything either. So I'm with you there.
I'm still hopeful. Now, in my lifetime, and my birthday's tomorrow, guys. So there you go. That I will see a Mars landing. It will be the greatest achievement in the history of mankind. But and I think the moon landings were the greatest achievement in the history of mankind. So you know
what's incredible about that moon landing? The computer power that brought that ship to the moon. There's more computer power on a basic level iPhone.
You were duped, Philip.
It was all done in paper, reams of paper. It's incredible.
You were duped, Philip. You were duped. It's a bit like E.T. E.T. didn't happen. The moon landing. Philip, they filmed that somewhere in Hollywood, right? Under a big banner, right? And they're still using it today. Now, if they go back to the moon, I would like them to, while they're on the moon, to walk over to where Apollo 11 was.
Yeah.
Right? And just prove a point we did go. That will end all the speculation. If they
I
could
know,
do that when they go back
they
to the
probably
moon,
will
that
do
will
that.
end
They
it
probably
all.
will. But they want to plant an Irish flag up there as well. We need an Irish
Yeah,
flag.
yeah.
You know, we can claim
Well,
it.
can I just tell you one story in relation to just before we go, right? The last Apollo mission was Apollo 19 in 1972, right?
Uh-huh.
And guess who has the flag from that mission? You're not going to believe this.
You.
No, who has
Mary
it?
Coughlin, the singer.
You're
Really?
She
joking.
has the flag from that. Yeah,
How did
she
you
has.
manage
I'm
to
just
get
going to,
that?
huh?
How did you get that?
I'm
Or
just
is
about
that
to tell you. I'm trying to remember, but she told me this. I'm just googling this here. Yeah. So she told me that she has a flag from the last moon landing. Let me just see. Just
God?
give me a second here, and I'll tell you.
Yeah, sure.
Because people didn't believe it at the time, but she told me. In fact, I meant to go out there and have a look at it. Where was it? She
It
told
is
me
as
this.
to the conspiracy theory, Philip. That they
Okay,
never
so I'm
went.
just going to read
Oh,
this out to
oh,
you, right? This is what she told me back in for the 50th anniversary. In a very strange turn of events, we have a flag in our family that was on the moon. My husband's grandfather was called Frank Bonadio. He was president of the Trade and Industrial Department of AFL-CIO, which was America's biggest union, and he represented the men who built Cape Canaveral and the Houston Space Center. He was given by a flag by the men from the Apollo 17 and left it to my children, Cian and Claire. So now the flag is in our house in Wicklow. I don't know how many other households in the entire world can say that.
Wow.
good
Now,
God.
there's something you learn
Wow.
something new every
Oh,
day,
yeah. That's something. Yeah. God.
Well, I have
Yeah.
got a bit of breaking news for you, Philip. They are sending an American to the moon,
yeah.
and his name's Donald Trump, and they're planning to leave him there because they reckon that it can do less damage on the moon than he can when he's on planet
So
Earth.
they'll never get him into the spaceship. He's too fat.
Well, he'll be going home to his home planet. They're picking him up for see the moon's the bus stop to bring him home to his own planet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's it. That's it. Oh, very good. Anyway, listen, that was fun. Thanks very much, Ronan, for coming on again.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Nice to have you. We'll do another one of these very shortly. And hopefully there is progress on all the matters that we've raised tonight, positive progress. And happy birthday tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I will see, hopefully you two, I'm up on the 3rd in Dublin for my birthday. So I hope to see you two on Tuesday night because I'm coming up to see Philip play.
Yeah.
Is that the February the 3rd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You finished the
I'll
course?
call up to that. Yeah. I'll have a pint with you that night. All right.
Yeah.
That's great.
I'm coming up chucking peanuts at Philip. That's my aim. I'm going to sit somewhere and just chuck peanuts at him and try to put him off his drumming.
Well, that wouldn't be hard now. Anyway, so listen, folks, thanks a million for tuning in.
All right, guys. Thanks a million.
See you soon, and keep the faith.
Will do.
Yeah.
Thanks, lads.
Hang on. Just do that and then end that.